Every Thursday, we talk a little business. We welcome in Patrick Grimion, host of the Patty G Show. What's happening, dude?
Good morning, Brian. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir. Let's talk about the Patty G Show before we get into the topic today.
Okay.
Is this year all mapped out?
So, I say all mapped out. We've got shows booked. We're starting to book May right now. So we've got all of through starting next week. We didn't kick off anything this week.
Okay.
This was in our 2 weeks of break time that we take every year.
Okay.
So we start off next Tuesday with LA Custom Kayaks.
LA Custom Kayaks.
Yes.
What do they do?
They sell cookies.
Yeah.
So
they're an antique bookstore.
Right. Yeah. So then we're booked all the way up through April, and we're starting to look at May shows. This year we've kind of brought on some third-party marketing folks to take some of the pressure out of my hands when it comes to posting, repurposing content, and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we're excited to see how that's going to work out.
Okay.
It's nice to have a team to be able to call up and say, hey, let's go to McClavy's and do our outfit of the days, and they're going to come with cameras and all that whatnot and film everything right then and there, and I don't have to worry about it myself.
Nice.
So that's 2023 is the year of delegating.
So you'll be talking kayaks next week.
Right. Talking kayaks next week.
All right. The year of delegating and building a team. Let's talk about a couple of the things that as you have a team built, what you should be doing. New Year's resolutions for businesses in 2023. I saw an article on Forbes that you shared with me that I thought was fantastic. So let's break it down. The New Year's resolutions for a business, number one, they had listed, do not let a recession or fear of it alter your growth plans.
So I think before you set resolutions, before we get into that, you first and foremost have to make a resolution and a promise to yourself that you're going to keep them. Because making them and then not doing anything later. I mean, how often do you have gym memberships spike in January and then fade in February and March?
Yes.
So people have all these big anticipations of what they're going to do and expectations. They don't follow through with them. So if you set these New Year's resolutions and you don't follow through or have check-ins with yourself, it's all for naught. But
for people who regularly go to the gym, the first 2.5 weeks of the new year are the absolute worst.
It's slammed because everybody's trying to get their New Year's resolutions. They do it for 2 weeks, and then it falls off.
Yeah, and you'll see them, they'll go at it hard once, and then, like, the next time it'll be a lot of just sitting on a machine, looking at their phone, and then it starts to taper off in week 3, and then it's back to normal by February, and you'll see them again come June.
Yeah, I mean,
like right before they go on vacation.
the week they leave for vacation, they try to get that summer body ready.
I'm going to tighten up this week. Forget about the first 5 months of the year. I'm getting it done in 2 workouts.
Yeah.
Anyway, do not let a recession or a fear of it alter your growth plans.
Right. So for business owners looking at the fear of recession or the impacts of the recession, they tend to tighten up the belt a little bit. They tend to kind of rein things in and say, hang on, let's hold cash. Let's not make that other hire. Let's not spend that other dollar. Let's really kind of hunker down and just trudge along through here and not try to fire anybody. Whereas if you've got plans you made at the end of 2021 or at the end of 2022 when you were game planning, budgeting for 2023, and you've got this recession looming over you and the impacts of it, still look at how you can actually put those growth plans into place and do what you can. Don't try to just slow up and say, nope, we're going to pump the brakes and put our plans on hold till we see what's going to happen. Say, no, let's keep pushing forward and do what we're able to with this looming recessional impacts over our heads.
Okay, but it's not just about recession.
Right.
It's about the cost of growth right now.
Yes. It's going to be pricier.
Whether you're talking about building out, whether you're talking about hiring more, whether you're talking about borrowing money, all 3 of these things cost more right now. It's not just the scared of being scared. It's not just a matter of scared money don't pay. It's a matter of making that investment is going to take more of an investment.
And that's where you have to then evaluate kind of the trimming of the fat, if you will, in business. There could be some waste that you're spending in past years that this year you want to look at and really figure out what can be eliminated to make sure that the core growth models are still being played, knowing you've got a higher cost of doing business now.
Right. Well, if you haven't trimmed all the fat by now, I mean, we're talking about when pandemic started in 2020, who didn't trim everything then?
You'd be surprised.
And then repeat in 2021, try to grow a little bit in 2022, but unless you grew fat in 2022, which I don't think a whole lot of people did, I mean, there's hey, look, if you're not as lean as possible by now, We're 3 years removed from like full on prosperity, you know?
And I think it depends on the industry too, because I've talked with a lot of people and clients, and they've had some of the best years they've had in 2022 and 2021.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it honestly came as a shock because I'm with you. Like everybody's trimming the fat, everybody's trying to get as lean as possible, and saying, "Hey, Patrick, this year come around for 22 tax return, it's not going to be looking as good." But I've got other people saying, "What can I do to get?" Last year we were doing planning at the end of December of 2022 of what can we do to minimize tax bills because they had such a great year.
That's awesome. What kind of fields are we talking about where that's happening?
So you've had some in hospitality. You've had some
Hospitality's been such a weird bag. And I don't know how many times you talk to hotels on your show. And if you don't do it enough, I've got a couple people you need to talk to.
Not hotel. I'm sorry, the food and hospitality industry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not the hotel industry. The food side of hospitality. So we've talked to a lot of different restaurants, and they've seen significant growth in 2022.
Okay, that growth, I understand that a little bit more. But hotels in Baton Rouge have been doing well, very, very well throughout the pandemic and then on through 2022. They had, I hate to put it in terms of a benefit, but a number of storms displaced people. Combine that with the pandemic, and you couldn't have congregant sheltering. You had to have non-congregant sheltering. So instead of putting everybody in the gymnasium somewhere with a bunch of cots, you get hotel rooms instead. Costlier for the state, to be sure, although...
So I was about to ask, is it more of a state impact or a private impact from their
Well, the trickle-down effect would be private impact because the state doesn't own the hotels.
Well, no, I'm saying, did the hotel see revenue from the state side or from private side? Were more people staying in hotels on their own pocket, or were they living in it from the state?
Both.
Okay.
Both. More the state, but both. So do not let a recession or fear of it alter your growth plans. But at the same time, though, and this is coming from Forbes, so they're going to be bullish, right?
Yeah, to an extent. They're going to try to push you a little bit and not give you the easy way out.
The article itself says if your business is on a growth trajectory, don't let the recession stop you. Entrepreneurs by nature are risk takers, after all. You may have to be willing to endure some short-term pain, however, if you plan on taking out a small business loan for growth, which is going to be at a higher interest rate than, if you were doing this the same time last year.
Right.
All right. You will encounter higher interest rates thanks to the Federal Reserve's tightening monetary policy, but if you believe in yourself and your company, the short-term pain could produce long-term gain. Look, that sounds like that's a lot easier to say when you're on the sideline cheering for the team to go forward on 4th and 3.
Right. Then instead of the quarterback behind the ball.
Right.
Trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Right.
And so we've seen and had some discussions with business owners where they're asking, maybe if I take a cut in my pay or I don't give myself a raise as a business owner, I can help my team kind of keep moving forward and disperse it to them. So they're doing that short-term pain.
Like that too is existing, that's existing, not growth. Like that's, I don't know. It's a weird spot to be in. I think Forbes is being, I don't want to say overly bullish, but this is where the idea of a recession affects everybody. Because what's the law in physics? An object in motion will stay in motion. An object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force.
Yep.
I think Forbes is trying to be the outside force.
You're trying to push everybody through this?
Well, no, because where we're at right now with the cost of labor, with the cost of supply, with the cost of money,
right?
Like all of it right now, all things are pushing towards a recession being a self-fulfilling prophecy. So who's going to kick things into gear and put an object in motion?
Forbes is doing what they can. It's going to take people writing and pushing and speaking up about it, saying, hey, let's keep on moving forward whenever it comes to the actual recessionary side of things.
All right, we're going to pick things up on the back end. Right now, I believe we're due up for a break. Are we due up for a break, Elijah? She has a quizzical look on her face. Let's take that break now. I will check traffic. We'll check your money now. Coming back, Patrick Grimion's in the house. We're continuing next. Okay. There's no copy in there for that? No Gordy sending his wife to Chris's specialty meat so she can make dinner?
Gordy would send his wife over to Chris's.
It's not how the spot was intended to sound, but when somebody brought it up, I couldn't unhear it.
I sent my wife to go pick
Oh, he says that in the spot.
It was something like that.
Yeah, but like the way he said it, you like okay, so if
John Schroeder said he means his wife.
yeah,
What?
in bowling, but John Schroeder was talking about bowling. He's like, I beat my wife all the time. Huh?
What? Take that soundbite.
Brian went full on like, I'm gonna create a narrative with this. He was like, you beat your wife. John Schroeder beats his wife in bowling.
Bowling.
How about that's a headline sponsored by Don Carter's?
Right? So anyway, it was like if I heard it through the lens of a father of three, and I know my wife and I are doing everything just to teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Right.
But if you're listening in a vacuum and it's like, it's my wife's job to make dinner. Like that's a woman's play. Like and once you hear it, you can't unhear it.
Gordy's like, well, I'm at the office all day. My wife, I send her to Chris's specialty
Right.
meats.
She's-
Pick
We
up
let her out of the kitchen
because
long
she
enough.
does nothing.
We let her out to procure food. That was totally not the intent. That being said, though, man, Chris's is on point right now. I never so we've got one right around the corner from us that we don't go to nearly enough.
Where they
Oh.
at?
Millerville, just south of I-12. Oh, you know where the Ace Hardware is at, right before Harold's Ferry, right next to where that. Then I want to say they're out in Prairieville as well.
Because it wasn't gonna.
Okay. But they've got a location in Lakeview in New Orleans, and over Christmas, my cousin was talking about. He was just raving about them. He's like, you gotta hear about this place, dude. And I'm like, bitch, I've been telling you about this place for years now.
I feel like Brian, in conversation, you're that guy who is always first to something, and then by the time people start talking about it, you're just like, "How dare you?"
Not always, but when it happens, I'm like, come on. Listen once in a while.
So is that a testament to people are just behind the times, or people just don't listen to you?
I don't know. Look at that money.
Couldn't see the ref was in the way.
Yeah, I know. Terrible positioning by the cameraman on that.
That's what I love watching. I love watching a basketball go and just disappear behind somebody.
Yeah, when the
Mark
arms
says,
go
I
up.
missed the old OLOL positions commercial about men going to the dog versus women. My wife made me come.
Yeah, that was a. We're not going to talk about that.
Spot.
We're not going to talk about that. You can kill the mics if you want. I'm going to have Cool Modi in my head for the rest of the day now, and that's a good thing.
Troy says Chris needs a new spokesperson. No one believes Gordy is at his office all day.
Office.
His office is
He's like,
everywhere.
"My
Have you
wife
heard of
doesn't
remote
do
working?
shit, so I
Yeah.
send her to Chris's.
This is Gordy's office right here. Gets everything done he needs to on his phone.
We gotta get Chris's back in for a Foodie Friday, mostly just to bring a whole platter of sausage again. Wagyu hot dogs.
You like being served platters of sausage?
Yes. It's not a hot dog. It's a sausage.
It's a beef dog.
Yes, it's a Wagyu beef sausage. 653 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got Patrick Gremion in the house. Wow, that one just came out of nowhere. I've been battling something for a couple days, y'all. Lighten up.
I didn't know whether to say anything or jump across the table and try to start reviving you.
I didn't need like a Heimlich or something.
That's true. What's happening?
And we were fine the whole break, and then as soon as I started talking, it was like, all right, back to it. New Year's resolutions for businesses in 2023.
Yeah.
The second one on Forbes' list is, well, I mean, I'm biased, but
Just a little bit.
Probably the most important one. Don't cut back on marketing. Forbes goes on to say, research has repeatedly shown that companies that maintain their marketing expenditures during recessions emerge stronger once the tough times are over. Thus, it is advisable to continue marketing during an economic slowdown in order to be poised for higher long-term ROI. This is something that is so hard to sell to a business, but at the same time, so unbelievably important.
It really is. I think whenever you have to evaluate your marketing ad spend during a time of recessionary periods, you have to maybe change your message. You know, if you're pushing that the world is high and great and everything all the time, maybe say, okay, times maybe not be as well, so let's kind of craft our message around that, but still push it.
Right.
Still be there right in front of people and still let them know we're open, we're doing everything we can, and like maybe change the dialogue to say something along the lines of like, we're all in this together, we're going to get through it. You know, just give a good wholehearted feel to the company.
Disappearing when times are tough does not bode well for you. Number one, because out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And number two, you lose that reassurance of togetherness with your customer base or your potential customer base.
Yeah, if they see you leave during hard times, then what does that say as the relationship of if I'm the customer and there's an issue or I have a problem, you're just going to ghost me? You're going to leave me on red?
Right.
What's going to happen?
So, and again, obviously very, very biased. This is a marketing-based industry, an advertising-based industry. So my biases are going to be very clear and present in that regard, but it doesn't mean it's any less true. Like, let's step away from advertising on traditional media and let's talk about marketing in terms of, let's say, social media or content marketing. There's not a social media consultant out there who's going to tell you to disappear. So if messaging is important on social at all times, why wouldn't it be important in areas where you're paying for it as well?
Right. And it's wherever you can keep the eyes and ears on is going to be beneficial for you, because if you don't stop marketing and maybe your competitor does because they're scared and want to kind of tighten the reins back a little bit, now you've got an opportunity to get in front of customers and potential customers that your competitors were in front of before you.
Back to the Forbes list, and a couple of these New Year's resolutions are based more in just general practice and not the recession. Number 3, find and retain good people. That's pretty obvious. Number 4, create a positive work environment. I want to pause on that one for about 60 seconds because that should be a no-brainer, but we've seen over the last 2 years exactly why that one's more important than you don't just want to gloss over that one. The Great Resignation showed us why create a positive work environment is so important.
Yeah, I think going into the new year, you have that kind of turning of the page, the new beginning feeling. So you should be able to walk into the office as a leader, as a manager, as an owner, or even an employee with a positive mindset of, hey, new year, new year, new me, right? But new year, new work environment. If you had a bad one, let's make it positive. Let's turn it around. Or if you already have a positive environment, double down on it and keep pushing it.
Yeah. Up next, update your business plan. That should be just a standard every single year thing. After that, focus on networking. Forbes says focus on networking. I think this is one we're going to gloss over here in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana, in the South, because we're people. Networking's never been a problem. But when you look at other places around the country where the fears of the pandemic still carry on to this day, that's a tough one to do.
When I think
Like physically shaking hands and talking with people face to face, they're going to be a little more timid about that.
they are going to be a little bit more timid about that. But I think for us in Louisiana, or us workers, we tend to work in the business and not on the business this time, from managers or sales folks and owners, and taking that step away from actually working in the business to work on, meaning go talk to your customers, go talk to your clients, and have a little bit more face-to-face interaction that you haven't been able to over the last few years.
Yeah, I'm talking about the lingering effects of the pandemic, though. Number 7, apply technology to streamline processes. Patrick, tell me why this doesn't mean fire people.
It doesn't mean fire people, because if you're able to streamline and make them more efficient, you can get more work in, and then inevitably more work requires more hands.
Okay. Continuously build your brand. That goes right back to marketing. Focus on others and focus on yourself are the last two. And I think focus on others is something that's been gaining in popularity lately.
It has. You've got people that are focusing on causes outside of the office, people that are focusing on what do our employees care about, and what as a company can we do to show support of those areas.
He is Patrick Grimion, host of the Patty G Show. No new episode this week, but next week he's going to build a canoe.
Kayak. We're going to build a kayak.
Oh,
come
so
on,
close.
Brian.
Oh, it's so
They're
close.
so very different.
Have you ever been kayaking?
Yes, I've been kayaking.
I've never been kayaking.
You ever been kayak fishing?
No.
Brian.
Where would you put it?
What do you mean, where would you put it?
Like in your lap?
No, that's why you got to watch LA Custom Kayaks and how he rigs it out for fishing.
Absolutely do. You can get the Patty G Show anywhere you get your podcasts, and Patrick's with us every Thursday. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Brian.